how did the job for directing Devil Dog come about?
I was a director for hire, and my agent was offered the job by this independent company that made the film, and I needed the money, so I agreed to do it.
What did you think of the original script when you saw it?
I thought it was ridiculous.
Did you make changes when you were directing Devil Dog to the original script?
No, because I wouldn't have known what to do with it. The whole thing was so ridiculous to begin with. I just followed the script and filmed it as it was written.
What was it like working with the actual dog?
Very difficult. The dog was a sweet. I wanted to use a, the dog they used in that very scary German dog, Rottweiler. I wanted to use a Rottweiler. All the trainers told me that Rottweilers were not very intelligent and that they would not be able to do some of the things required by the script. So the dog trainer said the only reasonable dog to use would be a German Shepherd. So I agreed to it. What I wanted from the dog. And what was difficult was the fact that in the script it required him to look like an evil dog, and the trainer didn't know how to make him look evil, and I didn't know how to make him look evil. And the only thing we ended up was that I could get the dog to hold his attention very intently. If the trainer was holding a ball, the dog's ball, off screen, the dog would watch the ball. So it's all an illusion.
What was it like working with Richard Crenna?
Very, very nice man. Very nice. Obviously, he also needed money, or he wouldn't have done it.
Had you seen some of his previous work?
Oh, yeah, I'd seen him in a few TV things. He was primarily a TV actor, if I'm not mistaken. I've never watched much television. I've only worked in it.
Any funny anecdotes about demonic presence, accidents, anything unusual that happened on the set?
Absolutely nothing. There was nothing occult about the whole enterprise. As I remember, the only scene that I sort of remember that I thought came off well, which was entirely due to my direction, was the scene in which the dog seems to be willing Richard Crenna to put his hands in the blade of the lawnmower.
Did the final film come out the way that you planned it?
No, it did not come out the way I planned it at all. Let me explain. In the era in which that film was made, if you made a TV movie for any network, which was the way TV movies were made and financed, whether it was NBC, ABC, or CBS, the films at that time were, I don't know, they lasted about 65 minutes or so. The show itself was an hour and a half. The other time was devoted to commercials. So you were making a little dramatic show that lasted about 65 to 70 minutes. And they were ostensibly made for a licensing fee. The licensing fee was what the network paid to have the show made. So they would have first rights to show it on television. The licensing fee did not always cover the cost of the film. And usually the better films were deficit financed. Deficit finance means that the producer put some of his own money, I don't mean out of his own pocket, but from whatever source he had, into the film to make it better. And the idea was that he would have the rights for the film to be released as a feature overseas. And in that way, he would get extra money because the film was of superior quality. The producer who made Devil Dog was a cheap, independent producer who put not one dime of deficit financing into the film. Therefore, what happened was that the whole climax of the story involved the appearance of the so-called Barghast, this ghastly figure from hell. And there's a scene where this actor wakes up and he looks over the bottom of his bed and the Barghast rises from underneath the bed and he screams and is horrified. Well, obviously they couldn't be shot at the same time, and the whole thing was dependent on the excellence of this horrific special effect of the so-called Barghast, which was what the whole film was about. Well, The producer wouldn't put one dime into that. So the special effect is a joke. And you have an actor screaming in horror, and they cut, and what he's looking at wouldn't scare a mouse. That's the basic flaw of the film. It was made for the price. The producer wouldn't produce any extra money. There wasn't enough money to do it properly, so it might as well not have been done at all.
Did the TV studio make you tone the film down or change anything for it to appear on television?
No, the script was pre-approved by the network.
Can you talk about your affiliation with Kenneth Anger, or tell us a little about it?
I never talk about Kenneth Anger. We were friends in the past. That's all I can say.
Anything about being in inauguration of the Pleasure Dome?
No, I just appeared in it. You know, I've simply appeared as an actor in that film. It was Kenneth's film. I had nothing to do with the making of it, other than to appear in it.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into filmmaking, or why you chose filmmaking as your profession.
When I was a teenager, I fell in love with the film medium as a creative, artistic medium, and I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. And after I went to college, and I finally did some work in the original old cinema department at USC. And there I made my first film on my own called Fragment of Seeking. I rented a Bell & Howell camera. I shot it myself. I appeared in it. I wrote it. I directed it. I made it entirely myself. And that's what launched my career. It had nothing to do with the university. They didn't even understand it there. But it was acclaimed all over the world.
How would you rate Devil Dog amongst these other, TV movies such as Killer Bees or Cat Creature? And how would you rate Devil Dog?
Devil Dog is far and away the worst TV movie I ever made. I'm very proud of Killer Bees, and The Cat Creature is just okay, because I had a lot of interference with the network when I made that in terms of casting. I was never able to cast it properly. And Killer Bees is one of my personal favorites of my TV movies, and it starred one of the great stars in the history of motion pictures, Gloria Swanson.
Were you happy with the final product of Queen of Blood, Whoever Slew Auntie Roo, and Games?
Yes, yeah, they're all very representative of my work. I had very little interference, very little.
What was it like to direct cult actress Martina Beswick in this film?
Wonderful. I loved Martine. I cast her in it, and I loved working with her. My idea to cast her in it.
Can you tell me maybe about the TV movie you made that you're the most proud of, and the experience of what it was like to work on that in juxtaposition with, working on Devil Dog and having a bad experience?
Killer Bees, I enjoyed every minute of. I shot the whole thing on location in Napa Valley. I liked being in Napa Valley. I liked working with Gloria Swanson. I liked the story. I liked working with the bees. In a way, I did not enjoy working with the poor dog. I loved working with the bees. It was a totally fascinating experience to make Killer Bees, and it resulted in a friendship with Gloria Swanson until she died. And it was everything that Devil Dog was not. And nobody has put out Killer Bees on DVD. I wish they would.
Well, we'll look into that, I guess.
Please.
Can you tell us a little bit, about what you did career-wise after some of these bigger, TV movies? What did you go on to do?
Well, as I remember, my memory is a little shaky, but as I remember, it was after I finished all my TV movies that I got some work from Aaron Spelling Productions, directing various Aaron Spelling shows. I directed 2 episodes of Vegas. I directed 2 episodes of Charlie's Angels. I directed quite a number of episodes of Dynasty. I directed a number of episodes of the sister series called The Colbys with Charlton Heston and Barbara Stanwyck. And I was kept busy working on those all were Aaron Spelling shows. And until I got an offer to make another feature, which of course was interesting to me. And I made a feature called Mata Hari that never played in America, starring Sylvia Kristel, the great international erotic star. and I shot the whole thing in Budapest in Hungary.
And that was an erotic film? Was it?
Erotic, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but one of the reasons that it was not released in the United States is because all the eroticism had to be cut out of it, and then there was nothing left for them to exploit.
Was it similar in nature to like a Tinto Brass film?
Well, I hope it's not as vulgar.
Not as vulgar, okay.
Yeah,
So
and
erotic,
crass.
but didn't.
I consider his films crass and vulgar. Yeah. No, I don't think even though it's eroticism, it's not done in a vulgar way. And then there was a long hiatus because nobody would give me a job, and I have several projects, you know, that I could not get any financing for. And then I finally decided to make a short film on my own, like at the very beginning of my career. And so my latest film is a 40-minute version of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. And that film is a film I wrote, and I directed it, and I act in it, and I'm totally proud of it because I had no interference from anyone. So it was one of the most joyful experiences of my whole career, was making Usher. And I have shown Usher now. I've been invited to film festivals all over the world to show Usher. So it was worth the effort and worth the work. And it's more representative of my work than anything we have discussed. Because after all those other jobs were basically done for hire. Right. And that means you get interference from executives, you get interference from producers, you get interference from network executives. I mean, I can't tell you the idiocy of some of those people.
So you feel that, you know, even though it might not be the most financially rewarding, you feel that making sort of art films or films that, you know, involve
well, that's essentially,
is
yes,
something you enjoy
that's
the most.
essentially. I can say this about my career. Here you are interviewing me, right? You said I have a lot of cult following. I get requests for interviews all the time. I could show you a whole pile of magazine interviews and articles about me. Now they're putting all kinds of interviews about me on the internet. That is because my films are different. And the reason my films are, I mean the films that I'm proud of, are different is because I fought every inch of the way to get my personal vision on the screen. You see, most Hollywood directors are only in the business for the same reason the producers and other people are, is to make money. My goal has never been to make money. My goal has been to make films. So I'm like a dodo bird. People, I mean, they say, I mean, ever since I've made Usher, everyone says, well, what did you make it for? Well, what kind of distribution are you going to have? You know, when I say I made it for the sheer joy of filmmaking, they look like I'm totally crazy. If you ask a painter, why did you paint a painting? Does he have to explain everything to you? It's only the film, because film is considered by most people merely a vehicle to make money. It's not considered as an artistic, creative medium. As I told you from the very beginning, when I was a teenager, that was what interested me, was I thought it was a powerful, creative tool. But it's not used that way very often. It's used for people to turn out low-class commercial product to please the masses that has no artistic value whatsoever, and such films are totally forgotten a year after they're made. Mine are still remembered. That's all I can tell you. That's proof of what I'm telling you.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I like making films for the sake of, or for the pure joy of making films. Although there are some commercially successful directors like David Lynch, you know, who get their own voice.
Yeah, but you notice he hasn't made a film lately.
That's true.
And Lost Highway was a disaster commercially, and I think it's brilliant. But even young people didn't like Lost Highway. It had hardly any audience at all. He's a creative genius, and there are only a handful of people like that. I think Tim Burton is a very creative filmmaker, and David Lynch. I can hardly think of any others that I would go out of my way, whose films I'd go out of my way to see. One of our most creative directors of the last 30 years was Federico Fellini. He never came to Hollywood to make a film. He knew that his work would be destroyed if he did. In Europe, they do have a different attitude very often. They honor the artistic quality of film.